Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Harry's Fragrance Counter. Folks, this episode is going to be polemical, controversial even, because it's going to shake up the world as we take a deep dive into the ever-celebrated Sauvage. All right, so Sauvage by Christian Dior is an aromatic fougere fragrance for men. Fougere, what's that all about? I'm actually going to make a video all about the fougere fragrance family at some point. But for now, just know that fougere is kind of a class of fragrances that are typically deemed as masculine. It's a fragrance family that combines the sweetness of lavender with the woody freshness of like oak moss, okay? And that combination, that sweetness on the opening with the oak moss and the dry down was very, very popular at one point. Okay, so in many ways, this is kind of relying on an old but trusted motif in fragrances marketed to men. All right, Sauvage was launched in 2015. Bet you didn't know that. So it's a pretty young fragrance in the fragrance world. And the nose behind this fragrance is Mr. François Dumanchy. All right, so here's a little blurb of the promotional material behind Sauvage. Dior launches its new fragrance, Sauvage, with the name originating from the fragrance Eau Sauvage from 1966. And I'm not that familiar with that, but I can tell you that Sauvage means savage, which is why at the beginning of the video I went rawr, and why I'm kind of wearing this leopard Savage Sauvage print shirt. All right. So Sauvage is inspired by wild, savage, open spaces, blue sky that covers rocky landscapes, hot under the desert sun. So Dior in-house perfumer François Dumanchy signed this creation. The fragrance is announced as radically fresh, raw, and noble all at the same time. The composition is reportedly prevalent with carefully selected natural ingredients. And you, of course, should know that this, who better to be a spokesperson for something so inventive, so masculine, yet not tired, as Johnny Depp. That's right, Johnny Depp, Johnny Dippity Depp, is the spokesperson for Dior Sauvage, and that's kind of why I've got this get up today. I'm supposed to be giving Johnny Depp, or as close as I'll ever get to him. And if Johnny Depp endorses something, surely it must be good. Well, don't you worry, because in this episode, we're going to see just how regretful he should or shouldn't be that he associates his name with this fragrance. But before, let's go ahead and jump into what composes the body of this mystifying fragrance. All right, so the top note is actually going to be a very simplistic Calabrian bergamot, or is that Calabrian bergamot, and pepper. All right, so Calabrian bergamot, not sure how that differs from regular working class bergamot, but yeah. So very simple, simplistic top notes. The heart of this fragrance, the heart notes that are the middle notes, is we got Szechuan pepper, lavender, pink pepper, vetiver, patchouli, geranium, and elemi. And elemi, all you need to know about elemi is it's actually this, it's a sappy resin that smells like piney oak moss. Definitely smell that in the heart of this one. And lining the base, all right, coming in strong, we've got the synthetic ambroxan, which is kind of like a piney cedary note, cedar itself, and the floral labdanum. All right, folks, so this is an interesting profile. It sets for an interesting, it kind of walks you through a very interesting landscape as it stands. I will say from the opening, you definitely, yeah, smell it more from the nozzle. You definitely get that burst of the bergamot and the pepper. That's exactly what it smells like as soon as you spray it on you, as soon as if you smell it from the nozzle like I just did, you get that. And it makes for a very kind of it almost makes you want to sneeze. If you're highly allergic to pepper, this might very well induce your achoo sneeze reaction, because it's very strong, and that makes it kind of that very piquant play of the nose going on. So like a lot of fougères that have that fresh smell to it, that pepper kind of gives way to like, oh my gosh, there's something kind of funky going on. This isn't your regular fresh, masculine aftershavey smell, all right? And that's what you've got to understand about this fragrance, about why I think it is so popular. And we'll get to the popularity of this fragrance. But yeah, so that's leads way to the middle notes, all right? So that pepper, all right, walks you down to the heart notes, okay? That kind of like the Szechuan pepper and the lavender and the pink pepper. So this is a very, very peppery fragrance. And the patchouli and the geranium, all right? And by the time you get to the dry down with the cedar, which is what you mainly smell, maybe a bit of the labdanum when it's at the base, it kind of gives that, it smells kind of, all that together smells kind of like a spice market, like a world spicecraft. And so that produces kind of like this exotic, for lack of a better word, maybe even oriental, kind of balsamic almost, savage smell. And I think when we think of savage, we think of someone who's maybe a little stinky because, they're savages. They don't know how to wash themselves, but that's not what I mean. I mean someone, it has that kind of, because when we think of most outdoorsy smells and most fragrances that are built with outdoorsy notes, or notes that are kind of reminiscent of the outdoors, we think of kind of like maybe citric, like the bergamot or the lemon or the orange. We think of the florals, like rose, like jasmine, and even, maybe the woody, like the cedar, or even patchouli to some extent. But this kind of smells like the side of nature that kind of is a little more, not quite as smooth or as predictable. And so that's what makes this fragrance, I guess, so inventive in so many ways, because it's literally combining, especially in the heart of the fragrance, which is where this fragrance gets the most play once you get over that blast of bergamot and pepper opening. It's kind of got that smooth predictability that we associate with a lot of popular fragrances, but it's got, that Szechuan pepper and the pink pepper, that I think kind of like keep you on your toes and kind of keep it from being, this, uninspired and otherwise uninspired fragrance. So it smells familiar, I think, in a lot of ways. I think you'll find this a familiar smelling scent, but it smells new and novel at the same time, like something you haven't quite smelled before. So yeah. But as far as what little old me thinks about this fragrance, well, it's savage, classy, bougie, ratchet, sassy, moody, nasty. No, but for real, this fragrance is great. And this is why I said at the start of this episode, this is such kind of a polemical, important episode in the life and the chapter of Harry's Fragrance Counter so far, because if I had to choose the top men's fragrance right now, or the top fragrance period right now, in terms of like what's popularly, considered the top fragrance market to men, it would be Dior Sauvage. And, it can be a little controversial, my opinion on it, having said that, okay? Because I think a lot of people, because it is so crowd pleasing, might, have a little something to say about it. Like I said, this fragrance is structured in a way that is similar to a lot of fragrances in fragrance past, the ghost of fragrance past, in terms of its body. Because like I said, it's what we call a fougere, and I know you may not know what that is yet, but just know that that's a very popular class of fragrances that, you know, would have been crowd pleasers like in the 80s, even well before that. Dracar Noir, okay? Ask your mama, ask your daddy about that one, okay? They would know. That's a very, very popular fougere that comes to mind. But having said that, it deviates just enough from the norm and adds something new to be like, oh, so it's almost kind of like a revival. I almost said revivification, not a word. A revival of something that was once so popular, and you made it new, okay? You made it new. It's like Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac. But yeah, so having said that, when I bought this fragrance, it was actually when I had nothing else. I didn't buy, if you can believe that. I somehow left all my fragrances at home when I was on site for a wedding. Okay, and so obviously, because I'm not fully dressed without a fragrance, and neither are you, I had to swing by the mall and buy one. And so having said that, I was kind of in a bit of a hurry because I had to get back. And in a hurry, I had to buy something. You know, I didn't have too much time to really dissect things the way I wanted to, even though I probably still did because I'm me. But so I kind of went with a fragrance that smelled good. And that's what this is. So having said that, you will smell very good. You will get, every time I wear this, I get compliments on compliments. It is one of the ultimate crowd-pleasing, compliment-getting blind buys, meaning you can buy this for someone without really, you know, knowing what they like to smell like. They will more than likely like this. So that's good, but it's also kind of made me, like when I first smelled this, I didn't have the strong reaction that so many other people did, because it does smell very much like what people, in particular, I think what maybe the average man would like to smell like today is Dior Sauvage. Which I guess makes sense that someone like Johnny Depp is the spokesman for it, because he's very much kind of like, I think, an icon in many ways of what I guess a lot of men's style is supposed to be, that kind of chic bohemian thing going on. I say that to say, you will smell very, very good if you wear this, again, but you will not smell very unique. And because for that reason, it's kind of, I have this middle of the road opinion on this fragrance as a result. I like it a lot, but I don't love it. I don't love it like a lot of people do, which is kind of ironic because, you know, a hipster is endorsing this, but I'm being a hipster because I reject that. And which kind of brings me to my next point, I guess, as far as the characterization, the kind of person who would wear this. This kind of makes me think, I guess like I've said already, like a Johnny Depp type. Someone who is so, like, you know, a hipster. Someone who's so set on diverting from the norm, but they don't realize all the ways in which they're actually still the norm. They're actually very much still within the bounds of what everyone wants to look like or be like or smell like. But they're still very, very well liked. They're still considered fashion icons, I guess, by people who are more or less easily impressed. This is the fragrance for someone who is easily impressed. Or someone, this makes me think of someone who, quite frankly, thinks that they are, you know, the next big thing because they're so different. And they're stylish, I'll give them that, but not really. They're not really as different as they think at all. So yeah, So yeah, so I'll let you guys know when, you know, the feds start coming for me for having said such a controversial thing about this fragrance. Because yeah, it's gonna happen, because people love this one. Okay, so having said that, because I am such an honest man, you know, I'm going to try not to let my bias, okay, you know, come into the objective evaluation of the body and performance of this fragrance. And so the official Harry's Fragrance Counter review of Dior's Sauvage is 4 out of 5 stars. That's right. So, this fragrance, Dior Sauvage, is kind of like the rival right now to Bleu de Chanel, which, if you know my channel, which you should, was the very first fragrance that I reviewed from episode 1, okay? This is kind of like one of the biggest rivalries in perfumery right now. This is like the Arnold Palmer to the Jack Nicklaus, all right? The Duke to the Carolina, all right? The Joe Frazier to the Muhammad Ali, all right? The Red Sox to the Yankees. Okay, I think you get it. But yeah, 2 heavyweights in perfumery right now, especially specifically in perfumery that is marketed to men. Personally, I would go with Bleu de Chanel. That's my personal one, but this one is more popular. But a word about its versatility, because it is so crowd-pleasing and versatile. You know, it's really pretty appropriate in virtually any setting. To me, my first thought is you could wear this to the club. It smells very clubby to me. But it'd be appropriate for work. It'd be appropriate for a wedding, like I was wearing it for. It'd be appropriate just for walking down the street, walking your dog. I mean, I know that might seem a little perplexing. How could a fragrance be appropriate for the club and for a wedding and for the job and for walking your dog? But I'm telling you, they really nailed it with the versatility on this one. So, but hey, let's not get carried away with my bias, okay, against crowd-pleasing fragrances. We're gonna go over to our good old buddy and pals over at Fragrantica and see what they have to say about this Sauvage fragrance. Dog Pound 287 says, "This is my biggest complimented cologne I own. 4 to 5 sprays last all day on clothes. When doing laundry, I can still smell it before putting it in the washer. Us cologne nerds tend to hate on hyped cologne, but the average female just enjoys this one." Yeah, I felt personally attacked because I am a cologne nerd. I mean, hello, I have a whole freaking channel talking about this stuff. So yeah, we are, like I said, a little biased because crowd-pleasing tends to mean less artisanal. And it's not that it's not artisanal, but it could be more. Could be more. And especially with my goal, trying to get you to express yourself, trying to get the, you know, my fans, those who watch this, to kind of expand, to get the populace to expand their horizons in perfumery and as a means for expression. You know, something like this is kind of an anathema to that end. So yeah. Discarded Android says, "It's very light but deceptively strong at the same time. It's got this fluffy, fuzzy, peppery, plasticky vibe about it. Dumb reach, yes, but personally headache inducing." And yeah, it's I know what he means by that. The fluffy, fizzy, peppery, plasticky, all those are very fair game when it comes to describing this fragrance. And a lot of that's because of the, 3 different peppery notes that are composed the body of this fragrance. Omega 21 says, "I'm not gonna lie, I used to love this fragrance when it came out, but then everybody started wearing it, and it got a little dilute. Great DNA nonetheless, though a bit douchey." well, dang. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, it is a little douchey. I mean, it is Johnny Depp, as much as I actually like Johnny Depp. I could see him being read that way. And he is a spokesperson for his fragrance. All right, so Latitude 29 says, being hit on by the janitor when you snuck out through the laundry for a smoke. Now that's savage. Not classy or bougie, but quite ratchet. All right, and finally, I am drinking beer says, masculine, intoxicating smell that you will love. At least I did. Still didn't find a better scent than this bad boy. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. Yeah, so Dior Sauvage. Dior Sauvage, extra, extra, read all about it. It's really one you got to smell for yourself. You can easily smell for yourself. Walk down the street to your favorite Macy's or whatever fragrance counter you hit up. You can find it very, very easily. That's the good news. You could probably find it, on sale at this point as well. Get, some kind of fragrance, perfume, cologne, aftershave, gift package for a really good deal. But yeah, you got to try it for yourself and for the ones you love. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today, folks. Don't be too savage out there. Stay classy and bougie. For your own sake and those all around you, keep smelling good. And I'll talk to you next time.